My name's Sue Vale and I work for Museums Worcestershire, and my role in the project was to bring along the suitcases. We started the project with 7 suitcases, and throughout Suitcase Stories 2 we developed another 14 suitcases. We were talking to people as we were going along and thinking about the themes that we wanted to develop. So we started, the first 7 that we had were themes that would interest everybody, sort of going out, night out on the town, holidays. And the new ones that we developed were ones like sports and toys and childhood and school days. So my role in the project is to bring along the suitcases and to work with the musicians to hopefully engage people, to help them remember stories, that the objects, and the idea of the objects is to help with that. So we started the project with 7 suitcases. We developed one after an extra one after Suitcase Stories 1, and this time, because we've got 21 weeks, we had to develop another 14 suitcases. All of the objects in the suitcases come from the handling collections at the museums, and other things that we find as we go along. Sometimes we might spot something while we're out shopping in a shop, a vintage shop or something. I think that's ideal for a suitcase. But the majority of them come from the handling collections at the museum. The themes that we started with were a night out on the town, holidays, and then as we got to know people, we started to develop new themes that we thought might interest them. So we looked at school days, sports, childhood, home life, work life, and so on. So each of the suitcases has a theme, and I would work with the musicians each week. We'd have a think about the theme, and then they would use songs that fitted around that theme as well. It was quite interesting seeing what people liked, what worked and what didn't work. Some of our most popular suitcases were definitely the ones that everybody could relate to. So things like a night out. Everybody goes on a night out, so we get lots of conversation about what people used to wear and about getting ready and about where they went on their night outs. People talked about their school days and what it was like being at school in the sort of 1950s and 1960s. We talked about holidays and the 1960s, 1970s. So we've got objects like a pair of platform shoes, which started lots of conversations. We tried to use objects that are tactile. So, for example, one of the objects that we have is a hairdryer. This hairdryer looks quite different to hairdryers now, but also it's very, very heavy. So as soon as that's put into somebody's hand, they feel the weight of that, and that immediately they're starting to touch that and think about, I saw my mom use one of those, or I used one of those when I was getting ready to go out. So we've got things that are quite tactile as well, like our beautiful dress. And then we try as well to include smells, and this particular one, although it's quite a modern packaging, as soon as you take the top off, lots and lots of conversations about Brill cream and who used to use Brill cream when they went out on their night out. So we do that. And then sounds, and this is where the music really came in. We do have things like instruments, and we've got a fantastic roll-up piano in one of the suitcases, but this is where the music really worked well, because everybody recognises certain songs, and immediately they would start to sing. That makes people feel much more relaxed, and then conversations start to open up, and the whole group starts to work together and share memories, share stories. That works really well. It's been quite interesting, the different venues that we've been to. We've worked in community settings, so we've worked with other museums, and people have come along with carers, with family members, and shared stories that quite often people hadn't heard before. So family members might not have heard of a story about something that somebody did in their childhood, but everybody joined in those conversations, and there was a group. There was like a community spirit, a group spirit within that, and I think everybody looked forward to each week. Working in the care homes was slightly different because everybody knew each other then already, and usually there was an activities coordinator or somebody like that who was coordinating the group. They were more difficult because we did need to limit the numbers. Space was quite often a premium, and what we found in one of the care homes was as the music started, people would wander in and try to join in, and then other people might fall asleep or wander out again, and that made it quite difficult. And the following week there might be a completely different set of people, or maybe just one or two of the core group. There really has to be a buy-in from the care homes to make it work well, I think. And also we found that we needed a member of staff with us to help just listen to conversations, pass objects round. That was sometimes quite difficult if we didn't have an extra person with us. The interesting setting was the hospital, the Alex Hospital in Redditch, which I'd never done anything like this before. I actually found that one quite difficult because passing the objects round between beds, I think there was I wanted to work in the same way that we'd worked at the care homes, and that wasn't possible. So it was a learning curve for me, but I learned a lot from it, and I found that sometimes it worked better just to stay with one person, maybe for 5 minutes, but have some quality time with that person. But the one thing that I did notice there was how much everybody loved the music, and I think that was true of all the venues that we went to. The music and the musicians really enhanced the project. We would then just stop the conversation, go back, have another song, and bring the group all back together, and then maybe share some of the conversations, because not everybody could hear all of the conversations going on, and we missed things. So we would stop and bring the conversations back again, and share some of those ideas. One of the things that I've been able to do over the last 6 months is go back through the suitcase and think again about the project and about the objects in the suitcases, and think about what worked and what didn't work, and add some things in, take some things out, and we've also developed another couple of suitcases. this project for me has been amazing. I've really loved being part of it. Just hearing people laughing, smiling, talking to each other. We've seen people sharing so many memories, and not just that, but saying how much they look forward to the sessions each week, particularly the community sessions where sometimes people live on their own, and this gives them something to look forward to. The one thing I noticed at the Alex was how everybody was smiling. As soon as they heard the music starting, everybody was smiling, and we got some amazing feedback from people who said that the music in particular had made them feel happy, and that there were some people there that for them that was the first time that they'd smiled that day. One particular memory for me is a care home where we did 5 sessions, and there was one particular person who was very reluctant to come in for the first session, gradually built up her confidence throughout the weeks, and by the last session sat for the whole 2 hours chatting and telling lots and lots of stories, and for me that was a real highlight and proof of the success of Suitcase Stories.